Hello and welcome, I'm the Legendary PokéMaster, and today we are talking about Type Null and Silvally again. Today we're going to be talking about why they are legendary Pokemon, because there are a lot of factors that would go against that, but they still are. Also, I use Type Null and Silvally interchangeably because they're literally the same thing, but with a helmet on one. So without further ado, let's start. So to start with this question, we should probably first find all the info we can about the supposedly legendary Type Null and its supposedly legendary evolution, Silvally. Type Null is an artificial Pokemon comparable to Mewtwo in its origins and purpose. It's supposed to be the ultimate, extremely powerful Pokemon to trump all other Pokemons, but it falls on its face even more than Mewtwo. In order to combat the Ultra Beasts, which were coming down in increasing quantities at the time of its creation, the Aether Foundation created 3 Type Nulls, then called Type Full. They were made in the likeness of a certain Pokemon. It looks like we got some hints of Noivern, Houndoom, either Gyarados or Samurott, some random bird, and maybe even Trevenant or something if you want to count the helmet, which was made by the Aether Foundation to control Type Null after its ability, RKS system, made it basically bust a Mewtwo from the first movie. Silvally is just Type Null with the mask removed and evolution obtained through high friendship. So with all of this covered, let's move on to our main question. What makes the Type Null line legendary? Well, why shouldn't it be? It says so right there, and wikis are never wrong! Well, when we look at all legendary Pokemon, there is no set definition to what they are, but there does seem to be a general commonality between the traits that they have. They always tend to meet these 2 criteria. They are all elusive and have been around for a long time, hence their ascension into legend or myth, and they have comparatively massive stats. And then there's these guys. Even Silvally, the better of these 2, has relatively low stats for a legendary Pokemon and is man-made, thus not really having time to attain that legendary aspect. As for that first part about low stats, it is true that there are legendary Pokemon with lower stats, but each of them at least have an excuse. Cosmog does have a base stat total of 200, but it does make up for it through being able to summon Ultra Wormholes and evolves into a much more powerful Pokemon later. The Tapus are the only quartet of legendary Pokemon with no Trio Master, and thus need lower stats to keep them from being too OP. And if you want to count it, Keldeo is still in training, as seen in that Pokemon movie that no one likes. Type Null has the excuse of the power-limiting helmet, but Silvally can't really fall back on any of these excuses, since it was engineered to be the legendarily powerful Pokemon, and according to the other documents, it actually did deliver on that, just kind of a little bit like this. So let's take a look at the solution to each of these dilemmas, which starts with Arceus. Type Full was almost definitely based off of Arceus. I mean, come on, it looks like it, and it also has a similar ability to Arceus's plate thingy. Anyway, File 5 of the BK development program basically gives it away. It says that the materials for creation of Type Null were gathered from the Canalave Library of Sinnoh. These materials could be one of 2 things. A, the books on the many elemental plates that Arceus utilizes, present during the event where you get Arceus that no one was lucky enough to even participate in. Or B, Arceus's elemental plates themselves. Option A is probably much more likely. That's because the books were actually shown to be present at the library while no plates were. In this case, the only thing that Aether could really do with these materials would be base their own innovations off of the descriptions, thus resulting in a Type Full that would draw inspiration from Arceus's abilities but doesn't actually possess its direct genes. These would in turn explain why the Type Null line is legendary without actually being exceptionally powerful or long-enduring in legend. Silvally lacks the strength of a legendary Pokemon because it probably didn't draw directly from one, instead combining the power of several powerful regular Pokemon. This, however, was enough to make it automatically attain a status of legendary Pokemon, representing the power of the supposed strongest Pokemon in a weakened state. So that's one of my explanations. Yes, I do have another one, but we're getting really close into the theory zone. What if we were to say that Type Null did draw from the genes of a legendary Pokemon? I mean, there are quite a few at Aether's disposal. There are the omnipresent Tapus, as well as Cosmog, which was shown to be in the organization's possession at the outset of the game. However, I'm looking at a more powerful Pokemon than all of those. Necrozma. If you compare Silvally and Ultra Necrozma, there are actually quite a few common facial features, especially with the jaws, protrusions, etc. Aether would have had access to Necrozma anyway because in the Sun and Moon it was revealed to have been buried in the ground, easy for the gene taking. However, while they would have accessed it, Necrozma would have been in its weakened state, regular form. This would probably explain why Silvally is relatively weak as well. A few original philosophical ideas of mine also support this, involving the contrast between Arceus and Necrozma. At this point, enter at your own risk because this portion of the video has less evidence behind it. Arceus is a Pokemon that is able to absorb the power of all types, where Necrozma expels light in a way that would be comparable to rejecting such types. Arceus seems to embody and grant light, while Necrozma, in the state that it is in the game, steals it. This in turn may explain why Type Full at first rejected the RKS system if Silvally having taken from Necrozma is true, because Arceus's and Necrozma's abilities just don't mesh. But those are my 2 main theories on why Type Null, and by extension Silvally, are legendary despite not really qualifying as one in many ways. But this is a hard topic topic to nail, and thus there are probably a lot more ideas on the concept. So what do you think? Why are the 2-type full forms legendary? Please leave a comment down below. You could also subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Regardless, thank you, Hybrid Hero, and I will see you in the next video.